You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network. I'm Nicholas Callis. These are your game recaps, standing updates, and league leaders from Friday, May the 1st, 2020. Starting with this American League game, the Boston Red Sox have been on a bit of a hot streak now. After winning this game, the final score was 5-2. Hector Velasquez got the win. Corey Kluber 1-2 so far in his career with the Rangers. And Brandon Workman now with 8 saves on the season. This AL East baseball game featured the New York Yankees and the Toronto Blue Jays. The Yankees snapped their tiny losing streak with this win. Luis Cessa got the win out of the bullpen, Chase Anderson got the loss, and Aroldis Chapman now has 5 saves on the season. The Baltimore Orioles and the Chicago White Sox played each other, and the White Sox won by a score of 3-1. Lucas Giolito now with 5 wins on the season. Alex Cobb is now 1-4, and Alex Colomé has 9 saves on the season. The Minnesota Twins played the Los Angeles Angels in this game and won by a score of 5-4. Jake Odorizzi got the win, Shohei Ohtani got the loss, and Taylor Rogers earned his 9th save of the season, although the Angels were making a bid for a comeback in the bottom of the 9th inning but could not complete it. One of our games of the day here on Major League Baseball's virtual network, as well as an AL Central matchup between the Detroit Tigers and the Kansas City Royals. All the runs of this game were scored in the 5th and 6th innings, but the Tigers' 2-run top of the 6th is the outlier in this one, and that allowed them to win by a run. Jordan Zimmerman got the win on the mound. Jesse Hahn, his first losing decision of the season, was earned in this game, and Joe Jimenez now has 8 saves. Interleague play here between the Cleveland Indians and the San Francisco Giants. The Giants were shut out by the Indians, 3-0 the final score, though the Giants had more team hits than the Indians after getting 6. Zach Plesac got the win, and Jeff Samardzija 1-3 now on the season. The Tampa Bay Rays played the Oakland Athletics. This game was extended to 11 innings, thanks to the Rays tying the game with a 3-run top of the 8th inning. However, the Athletics ended up with a walk-off home run in the bottom of the 11th to secure the win. J.B. Wendelken got the win out of the bullpen, his first winning decision of the season, and Jose Alvarado now 1-2 on the year. The Rays lost a player in this one. Willy Adames, the shortstop, got injured in this game, and he'll be out for approximately 1 to 2 weeks. You can check more about the injury on Twitter. An AL West specific matchup between the Seattle Mariners and the Houston Astros, and the Mariners came out on top by a final score of 7-3. They were helped in part to a 4-run bottom of the 5th inning. Taijuan Walker got the win, he's now 3-2, and Lance McCullers Jr. now 1-2 on the season. The Pittsburgh Pirates have been on a roll as of recent. They won this game against the Marlins by a final score of 7-4. Their win was propelled by a 5-run top of the 1st inning, and they scored a run in the top of the 2nd, didn't give up a lead after the 2nd inning. Robbie Erlin got the win, Sandy Alcantara got the loss, and Keone Kela on the brink of double-digit saves. He has 9 on the season after his save in this game. The Colorado Rockies played the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Phillies blanked the Rockies. 6-0 was the final score. Zach Wheeler got the win, and Jeff Hoffman got the loss. He is still winless in the Rockies rotation. This NL East game featured the Braves and the Mets came out on top by a final score of 6-4. Rick Porcello got the win, Max Fried got the loss, and Seth Lugo now has 3 saves on the season. In this game, the Braves lost Marcell Ozuna to injury. He'll be out for approximately 1 to 2 weeks, and you can check up more on the specifics of that injury on Twitter. The Cincinnati Reds and the Washington Nationals played each other, and the Reds lost this game by a final score of 5-4. Hunter Strickland got the win. He's 2-0 out of the Nationals bullpen, and Matt Bowman is 0-1. He got the loss. This one, an NL Central specific game. The final score 4-3. The Cardinals won after 10 innings. This game went back and forth late. The Cardinals scored 2 runs in the top of the 10th, and the Brewers made a bid to tie the game in the bottom of the 10th inning, but could not complete the comeback. The Brewers scored 3 runs on 10 hits. The Cardinals 4 runs on 7 hits. Alex Reyes got the win, Ray Black got the loss, and John Brebbia earned his first save out of the Cardinals bullpen of the season in this one. The Cardinals lost Matt Carpenter to injury. He'll be out for approximately 1 to 2 weeks. You can check up more on the specifics of the injury on the Twitter page at VirtualMLB. The Chicago Cubs played the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Cubs won by a score of 7-4. Each of these teams put up 3 runs in the first inning, but the Cubs were able to produce more offense after that inning. The Diamondbacks only got 1 more run after the first inning. It was in the bottom of the third. Kyle Hendricks got the win. He's now 3-2. Robbie Ray now 4-3 after getting the losing decision here. And Craig Kimbrell with 11 saves on the season. And our other game of the day here on Major League Baseball's virtual network, the Los Angeles Dodgers beat the San Diego Padres and have taken the lead in the NL West after winning this one 5-3. Max Muncy had a couple home runs in this game, which really helped the Dodgers win. Jimmy Nelson got the win out of the bullpen, Javi Guerra got the loss, and Kenley Jansen now has 11 saves on the season. Let's take a look at standings now from both leagues, and we'll start in the American League, with the American League East more specifically. The New York Yankees won today. They're 20-13 now, and they're back in first place in this division. The Baltimore Orioles, though they lost today, are a half game back of the division with a 19-13 record. The Tampa Bay Rays are 19-15. They're 1.5 games back on a 2-game losing streak now. The Toronto Blue Jays are 15-17. They're 4.5 games back after losing today. And the Boston Red Sox won today, though they're still far back in the division. They're 8.5 games back with a 12-22 record. In the American League Central, the Chicago White Sox on a 2-game winning streak now. They're still leading this division with a 21-11 record. The next closest team to the top, the Minnesota Twins, who are 18-14. They're 3 games back of the division, and they won today. The Cleveland Indians are 18-16. They're 4 games back of the division. The Detroit Tigers reached 10 wins after being on a 4-game winning streak and winning today. They're 10-22, 11 games back of the division. And the Kansas City Royals have extended their losing streak. They have lost 13 in a row now, and they're 9-23, 12 games back of this division, still yet to reach double-digit wins. And in the American League West, still a tight race here, but the Athletics, being on a 3-game winning streak, are creating some separation now. They're in first place with a 19-15 record. The Houston Astros are 16-16. They're 2 games back of the division on a 3-game losing streak, and they've lost 7 of their last 10 games. The Texas Rangers are 14-17. They're 3.5 games back of the division, tied with the Angels, who are also 14-17. And in last place, the Seattle Mariners are 15-19, and they're 4 games back in this division. Moving on to the National League, starting in the National League East, the Washington Nationals are on a 7-game winning streak. They're 21-10, and they lead this division. The Miami Marlins have lost 2 straight now. They most recently lost to the Pirates. The Marlins are 18-14. They're 3.5 games back of the division. The Philadelphia Phillies are 16-16. They're 5.5 games back after winning today. The Atlanta Braves are 16-18. They're 6.5 games back, and they lost today. And the New York Mets, on a tiny 2-game winning streak, they've won 4 of their last 10 games, and they're 13-19. In the National League Central, the Milwaukee Brewers maintain the lead in this division despite being on a 7-game losing streak now. They're being caught, though, by the Chicago Cubs, who won today, as well as the St. Louis Cardinals did. They're each 17-16. They're tied for second place in the NL Central, a half game back of the division lead. The Pittsburgh Pirates are on a 4-game winning streak. They've moved out of the basement. They're in 4th place now with a 13-19 record. They're 4 games back of the division lead, and they've got a half-game lead on the Cincinnati Reds, who are 12-19 and who are 4.5 games back of the division lead. In the National League West, the Los Angeles Dodgers are on a 12-game winning streak, and they have taken the NL West lead for the first time this season. They beat the Padres today. They are 21-10. The Padres are on a 3-game losing streak now. They're 21-11, and they're a half game back of the division. The San Francisco Giants are 17-15. They're 4.5 games back of the division. The Arizona Diamondbacks are in 4th place with a 15-17 record. They're 6.5 games back. And the Colorado Rockies are 11-19. They're 9.5 games back, and they're on a 2-game losing streak now. Let's take a look at league leaders now, starting with batting average leaders in the American League. Jose Abreu has been teetering between the high 300s and the low 400s, and right now he's above 400 with a 401 average. DJ LeMahieu continues to stay hot, and his average is continuing to rise. He has a 385 batting average. And Chris Davis rounds out the top 3. He has a 383 batting average. Good enough for 3rd best in the American League. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr.'s average has been shrinking, though he still leads this category. He has a 375 batting average. Jonathan Villar with a 365 batting average in 2nd place. And then teammates David Dahl and Nolan Arenado back-to-back. Arenado with a 362 average, good enough for 4th best in the National League. American League hits leaders. Jose Abreu has 55, DJ LeMahieu with 52, and Chris Davis, the only other player with more than 50 hits, and that's good for third best in the American League. In the National League, Jonathan Villar, the only player to reach 50 hits this season among National League players. Ronald Acuna Jr. in second with 45, Paul Goldschmidt with 43, and Nolan Arenado fourth best, the only other player with more than 40 hits this season among National League players. At bat leaders in the American League, JD Martinez leads this category with 141. Ozzie Albies has some competition now. Jonathan Villar has reached his at-bat total, and they are tied for the league best with 137. Doubles leaders in the American League, Jose Iglesias and Jose Abreu each have 13 now. Anthony Rendon, Miguel Andujar, and Rafael Devers tied for second best with 12. In the National League, Jonathan Villar has 17 doubles, leading the league. Ketel Marte, Christian Yelich, and Trey Turner each tied for second best with 12. Triples leaders, it still belongs to Jose Altuve in the American League. He has 4 triples. Oscar Mercado and Whit Merrifield each have 3. In the National League, this category still belongs to Jonathan Villar. He has 4, leading the league. Andrew McCutchen, Trey Turner, Asdrubal Cabrera, Hunter Pence, and Chris Bryant joined the list. He has 3 now, tied for second best in the National League. Home run leaders in the American League, this lead still belongs to Chris Davis, who has 18. Matt Olson, his teammate, in second place with 13, and then Austin Meadows and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. each tied for third best with 12. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has some competition now. Max Muncy ties Ronald Acuna Jr. for the most amount of home runs in the National League. They each have 12, and Paul Goldschmidt, the only other National League player in double digits, he has 10. RBI leaders in the American League, Chris Davis, 37 RBIs, trailed closely by Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who has 36, and Jose Abreu has 34. In the National League, Paul Goldschmidt, the only player with more than 30 RBIs this season in the National League. Cody Bellinger has 27, and Nolan Arenado rounds out the top 3. He has 26. Runs leaders in the American League, Jose Abreu and Chris Davis each tied with 30, and then Matt Olson and Yohan Moncada each tied for third best with 28. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has 30, Trey Turner and Max Muncy each tied for second best with 26. Stolen base leaders in the American League, Adalberto Mondesi has stolen another base. He has 9 total now, still leads this category for American League players. Malik Smith has 7, and then D. Gord and Mike Trout are tied for third best with 6. National League stolen base leaders, the lead still belongs to Starling Marte, who has 12 stolen bases. Trey Turner, the only one else who's in double digits, he has 10, and Ronald Acuna Jr. rounds out the top 3, he has 9. Walk leaders in the American League, Mike Trout with 22, Shin-Soo Choo with 21, and then George Springer, Giancarlo Stanton, and Robbie Grossman each tied for third best with 20. In the National League, Rhys Hoskins with 25, Freddie Freeman, Daniel Descalso, and Asdrubal Cabrera each tied for second best with 21, and then Eric Hosmer and Justin Turner each tied for fifth best with 20, and they're the only ones with 20 or more in the National League. On-base percentage leaders in the American League, Mike Trout has a .473 on-base percentage. He leads all American League players. DJ LeMahieu with a .455 on-base percentage, and Chris Davis with a .442. He rounds out the top 3. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. still leading this category. He has a .457 on-base percentage. Daniel Descalso with a .429, and Paul Goldschmidt has a .427. Slugging percentage among American League players, Chris Davis still slugging above 800. He has an .850 slugging percentage. And you have Mike Trout with a .766 and Jose Abreu with a .737. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has fallen below an .800 slugging percentage, though he still leads this category. He has a .783 slugging percentage, trailed by Christian Yelich with a .718 and Max Muncy with a .712. On-base percentage plus slugging percentage among American League players, Chris Davis leads this category, trailed relatively closely by Mike Trout, who has a .1239 on-base plus slugging percentage, and Jose Abreu with a 1.157. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. still leads this category, trailed by Christian Yelich and Max Muncy. For pitcher statistics now, we'll start with wins. Lucas Giolito, Asher Wojciechowski, and Jalen Beeks each have 5 wins, and they each are tied for the most amount of wins in the American League. In the National League, Dinelson Lamet and Walker Buehler are still tied with 5 wins, and they still lead this category among National League pitchers. Losses. All losses do right now is just determine who's still undefeated in each league, and now it's down to 5 for American League pitchers. Dylan Bundy, Tyler Glasnow, Asher Wojciechowski, Ronaldo Lopez, and Kenta Maeda each have yet to have a losing decision this season. In the National League, Trevor Bauer, Caleb Smith, Walker Buehler, Kevin Gausman, and Dinelson Lamet are also undefeated among National League pitchers. Saves leaders for American League relievers. Brad Hand has 13 saves. He's trailed by Michael Givens and Nick Anderson, who have 11, and then Matt McGill and Liam Hendricks tied for 4th best in the American League with 10 saves. In the National League, Josh Hader and Sean Doolittle still tied for this lead. They each have 12. Craig Kimbrell, Giovanni Gallegos, Kenley Jansen, and Kirby Yates all tied for 3rd best with 11. No other National League reliever has double-digit saves. Earned run average leaders among American League pitchers. Tyler Glasnow, the only one below a 2 ERA. He has a 1.69. Walker Buehler still leads this category. He earned Pitcher of the Month because his ERA in April was .96, and that's demonstrated here by the fact that he's still in the low ones and leads this category for all pitchers in baseball. Trevor Bauer, Mike Soroka, and Caleb Smith, all National League pitchers, and all pitchers throughout baseball for that matter, that have an ERA under 2. Home runs allowed, or it should be least amount of home runs allowed. Brandon Bailey, Frankie Montas, Gio Gonzalez, and John Means each have only allowed 2 home runs this season so far. In the National League, Caleb Smith, Trevor Bauer, and Garrett Richards tied for the best in this category. They each have only allowed 1 home run this season. Shutouts among American League pitchers. Garrett Cole and Masahiro Tanaka still top this list. In the National League, it's still Walker Buehler, but he has some company now. Zach Wheeler has thrown his 2nd shutout of the season, and they're both tied for the most amount of shutouts among National League pitchers. Jacob deGrom, David Price, and Pablo Lopez are still on this list, but they each only have 1 so far this year. Strikeout leaders among American League pitchers. Right now it's Garrett Cole and Lucas Giolito, who each have 57 on the season. Charlie Morton and Carlos Carrasco tied for 3rd best. They each have 52. And Jake Odorizzi, the only other American League pitcher with 50 or more on the season so far. In the National League, Chris Archer still leads this category. He has 62 strikeouts this season. But Clayton Kershaw struck out 8 in the game against the Padres today, and he's right on Archer's tail now. He has 61 strikeouts. And then Steven Strasburg and Robbie Ray tied for 3rd best in the league. They have 55. Complete games among American League pitchers. This lead still belongs to Garrett Cole and Masahiro Tanaka. Everybody else has 1. In the National League, Walker Buehler and Zach Wheeler are at the top of this list. Zach Wheeler just joined this list, and he has tied Walker Buehler for the most complete games so far this season. Everybody else on the list has 1 complete game pitched this year. Innings pitched, still Garrett Cole who has the most. He's pitched 48 innings among American League pitchers. And in the National League, Johnny Cueto is still at 50 2/3 innings, which leads all of baseball. Walks allowed, or least amount of walks allowed so far this season. Carlos Carrasco is still with 5, and he still leads this category. In the National League, Madison Bumgarner still has 4, and he still leads this category among National League pitchers. Whip leaders in the American League, Carlos Carrasco and Zach Plesac below a 1 whip. And in the National League, Walker Buehler, Mike Soroka, and Pablo Lopez each also below a 1 whip this season so far. Pitching war for American League pitchers. Charlie Morton tops this category, followed by Carlos Carrasco, Garrett Cole, Chase Anderson, and Eduardo Rodriguez. In the National League, Chris Archer still tops this category. He's trailed by Walker Buehler, Caleb Smith, Yu Darvish, and Steven Strasburg. Batting war among American League pitchers. Mike Trout still leads this category with a 2.7. Chris Davis catching up to him, as is DJ LeMahieu. They each have 2.6 WAR this season. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. still leads this category. He's falling slowly, though, but he's still the only player in baseball that has a WAR above 3. Jonathan Villar and Nolan Arenado round out the top 3. They're each at above 2.3. Arenado 2.3 and Villar 2.4. These have been your game recaps. standing updates, and league leaders from Friday, May the 1st, 2020. I'm Nicholas Callis. You've been watching Major League Baseball's Virtual Network.